All right, boys. I'm gonna show you how to process some meat today. Yeah! All right, we got ourselves can you see that? Whole strip loin. This was a recommended video from Brian. So I'm gonna process this, show you guys how I do it. All right, boys, we got ourselves a whole strip loin. Brian wanted this video, so I'm just gonna make you guys a video on how do I process a whole strip loin. I don't know if that focuses, but it's called beef strip loin whole boneless. You get it from Sam's, it's like 10 bucks a pound. So this is 12 pounds. I should get a couple pounds of ground beef, a whole thing of beef tallow, and then like nine really nice steaks. So, and just put them in the freezer. So we'll get started. Let's use this one. All right, I'm gonna open this bad dog up. A little messy. I gotta do this when Brittany's at work, because she will be pissed. Alright. Just kind of make it dry. And then it doesn't matter what kind of knife you use. I just use my sharpest knife, because the fat's kind of hard to cut through, so. This guy is a fishing knife, but it's sharp, super sharp, so. All right, so first thing I want to do is I don't want to get rid of this whole fat, because it's kind of nice to have a thing of fat on your New Yorks, but I can get rid of a decent amount. So that's the first thing I'll do, is I'll start making a pile of fat like that. And you don't really want to go down to the meat, but you might. Just leave like a little cap on it. But save all this, because this is your tallow, and that stuff will just melt. Like all that's good fat. Okay. And then, like all this I can clean up later. But what I like to do is cut off the caps. So I get two straight pieces here, because that's gonna be my ground beef. I'm a lefty, I should have set the camera up on that side. But this video might not come out. I can make another one if it's no good, but I just wanted to show you guys how I do it. So that's ground beef, or I mean it's New York steak, but it's gonna be ground beef. And it's like the best fucking ground beef ever. So another cap, it's just kind of like funky, but you can grind all that down. And now I got like a nice chunk. So then I do like two fingers. I don't know, 1.5 inches. Some thick boys. So there's your steak. It's like what, 1.5 inches? And then it's a nice lines running through it. And I'll trim these up a little bit cleaner. And then all my trimmings I keep putting in the trim pile. So let me get a rack. So I got a rack there. And that's just gonna be steaks. So I got, what the fuck did I do? No, that's ground beef. Ground beef, steaks. So, all right, and then I'll just keep cutting these. Nice clean cut. That's why you want a sharp knife, so you have nice clean cuts. I should probably get a better knife than this. This is a fishing knife, but whatever. And then, I don't know if you can see all that. I just keep making my way down. Boom, that's beautiful. This is just USDA choice. It's not even prime. But for some reason, I feel like when you buy the whole loin, the meat's way better. I think those meat guys at Sam's Club cherry pick the good shit for themselves. So I'm just gonna keep doing this. I'll edit all this shit out, so it's probably kind of a boring video. But I mean, it's beautiful. That is. And I got, what, 2, 4, 6 so far. Yeah, I'll probably get 9 steaks out of this one. I normally get 9 steaks. So, but if you do thin steaks, I mean, shit, you could get 15 steaks out of this thing. I just cut some thick boys. Me and Brittany will share a whole one, so if they're individually frozen, I just pop one out, cook it, and then we'll split a whole steak. So this lasts us like a month. Boom! Look at that. Yeah, buddy. All right. So I got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I got 10 steaks. 10 steaks out of that guy. Boom, look at that. And I'm gonna trim these. So, let me start with that. Main thing is you got your meat pile and you got your fat pile. So, like for this, boom, I get rid of that little, there's like a little triangle piece off the end. It's like mostly fat, but there's like a little bit of meat here. So I'll get rid of that. That chunk's for tallow. And this chunk's for ground beef. Boom. Little triangle. Tallow. Ground beef, I mean, whatever. Doesn't really matter. Like that's like all fat. So I'm just going tallow there. And then this one, that's kind of a nice piece down there. So this one I'm just gonna, you'll see, I'll just trim. I'm not even gonna cut the triangle off. So I'll trim that. Tallow. Tallow. Mama. And then that's ground beef. You're left with that. You leave that cap on. I mean, nothing crazy, but like a normal New York cap. And then you should have nice meat here. Boom. Oh my gosh, that's like gristle. Some of this gristle is just part of it. It's not gonna cook out. It's not gonna be good. It's gonna be like that gristly on the meat. You'll have less of that if you buy prime. But you literally cannot fuck this up. So it's not rocket rocket science. Boom. All right, now all my steaks are trimmed. So those are all trimmed. Those are ready to be packaged and frozen. So I'm gonna show you the freezing process, the vacuum sealing freezing process. I'm gonna show you the grinding process, and then I'm gonna show you how I make tallow. I didn't get as much tallow and ground beef as I normally get. This was like a pretty good chunk of meat, so there wasn't a whole lot of waste. But sometimes you'll notice when they come in the cryovac, like the caps are pretty chewed up. So you wind up cutting into it a little bit more. You'll get more grind, less steaks. But in this case, I mean, it was all steaks. That's why we got 10 of them, and then just barely any ground beef, barely any tallow. But it just depends on what you get. So in this case, I got a bunch of steaks, a little bit less ground beef, which is fine. And then if you get sirloin, you get ribeye, you get tri-tip, whatever you wind up getting, you'll notice like what is usable, what's not usable, and you just make different piles. So tallow, I realized on the last camera angle you couldn't really see, but the tallow is like this. It's just fat, very little meat. And then this is like all like shitty meat. But that's awesome ground beef. So, all right, got my steaks here. We're gonna vacuum seal them. You guys already know how to do this. You have the little individual baggies. But just so you guys see the finished product, stick them in here. And then I'll label these New York strip. Boom. Last one here. We got 10 bad dogs. Boom. Ready for the freezer. Pull them out individually. Cook one at a time. There we go. All right. We got our KitchenAid here. And then metal food grinder. It's an attachment for this guy. Or if you just have a meat grinder, you can just use that. It's the same shit. This has like a hopper. You have your grind size, which is this one, and then a blade. Just make sure that's all in there good. Yeah, buddy, I'm gonna grind some meat. So that's all good. I use the one I showed you guys, the really big grind first, and then I put it in a pile, and then I come back and hit it with that one, which is fine, and this is like what you want for hamburger meat. So it's a double grind. So one grind with the coarse, put it in a pile, run it back through with this. The main thing you want to watch with this is make sure that you are not running it for too long, because this will get hot, and then that'll mess up your meat if you're running it through a hot grinder. So ideally you keep this in the freezer. You have your meat super cold, but I'm only doing like a little bit, so it's not going to be a problem for this one. Your trimmings pile called shop trim. So you can do trimmings from your tri-tip. It'd be nice if you just made like a bag, and then if you trim steaks, put that in a pile, put it in the fridge or freezer, whatever. Tri-tip, anytime you trim beef, you can make a pile, and then you have a big pile of beef trimmings. And then you can grind it whenever you have enough to process it. So I'm gonna grab some bags, some scissors. Yeah, buddy. And then you put this on the lowest setting. It's like the stir setting. And then I just cut these into little pieces like that big. Like little 1-inch cubes. And this is like the best ground beef ever. It's obviously more expensive than the ground beef you buy at the store, because it costs what you paid for the steaks. But you're one, it's better. Two, you know what kind of meat it is. And three, you're not really like having to buy separate things. Like it's just trimmings from what you were buying already for your steaks. You just push this down. And that's gonna be like a coarse grind. This is fine. I've done the coarse grind before and just left it coarse, but you'll have like those little nodules of fat. The finer one is what gets rid of all that, and it makes it nice like hamburger meat. Little pieces. You don't need to overload your grinder, because that's what makes it hot. You want to keep it cold. Look at that. Daddy's making meat. Almost nap time. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I got this big pile of meat. Push that down. There you go. So now I'm gonna change this blade. So that's the coarse blade. Put that off to the side. My fine blade. And I just go back through. Make sure all this stuff is really tight and oiled, like spray it with Pam. Just keeps it clean. All right, here we go. So you're just taking your grind that you just did, same low setting, and you're just pushing that back through. And I'll show you what it winds up looking like. It's like perfect ground beef. It's super good. You won't know what the fat content is, like whether it's like 80-20 or whatever, but it's gonna be a little fattier than you're used to because it's trimmings, but it's better. Thank you. So, I guess you could do this with pork if you wanted to do pork for like sausage. I think I've done that before, I don't know, but you would do the same thing. You buy a big ass pork butt or something, trim it, and then all your pork trimmings you can turn into sausage. I don't really buy ground anything. I just grind it. It's a little messy. It's like prep, clean up, like actually trimming and grinding. I got it down now to where I can do it in like an hour, but it's definitely takes a little bit of time. Thank you. You helping? Kid probably ransacked the fucking playroom. And then you're gonna waste some, which sucks, because it gets stuck in this chamber. And there's like, people run ice cubes through it to kind of push it through, but I wind up just wasting whatever is in here. It's kind of just sucks. But if you wanted to like waste nothing, you could run ice cubes through that and push it out. All right, and there you go. There's your ground beef. And then same thing, I'm gonna vacuum seal it and freeze it. So, all right, so now for the beef tallow, we have all of our trimmings. You're gonna grab like a big pot, boom, and then your smallest burner, you turn it down to your lowest heat. It should like barely be on, like low, because you're gonna cook this for like 12 hours and you do not want it to like cook. You don't want it to burn. You're gonna let it sit on the stove for 12 hours. So like crock pot would even probably be better. like the lowest. Like you just want the fat to melt. So stick that on there. I got all of my just white fat. This is like good, nice white fat. Not much gristle, but if there's any gristle in there, it's fine. And then if there's any meat in there, it's fine. But just like that nice solid white fat goes in there. And then Haley just told me to add a cup of water and some salt. I've never done that. I'm gonna try it this time. So we're gonna go, it's supposed to pull more out, so you're wasting less. So salt, I don't know how much, but I really don't think you can fuck it up. All right. And then like a cup of water. And that's just gonna sit like all day. Like it's 10 in the morning right now. Pull it off like before I go to bed tonight. And I'll show you how to like strain it. Yeah, you already got some, baby. Thank you, it's for me. I'll show you how to strain it once it's done tonight. I'll show you how to strain off the beef tallow, put it in a container, and it'll come up to room temperature and harden like butter. And that's your beef tallow. It doesn't have to be refrigerated. Matter of fact, I wouldn't refrigerate it because then it gets really hard and it's really hard to work with. So I would leave it on the counter or in a cupboard somewhere, and it will store for up to a year and it won't go bad. So I'll show you how to do that. All right, so now I'm freezing my ground beef. I got my pile of ground beef here. And then just remember, you're not doing this to make ground beef. You're just using your trimmings to make ground beef, because otherwise this is more expensive than buying ground beef. This is just so you don't waste anything. Like you're buying this for your steaks, you're cutting your steaks, but you're using the meat trimmings for ground beef so you don't waste it, and you're using the fat trimmings for tallow so you don't waste it. So just keep that in mind. Like I got a scale here and it's in ounces. So when I pull out my meat, how much I have. I'm gonna seal this, and then maybe you can see this. With the ground beef, I go like this, and I smush it flat. And that way, when you pull it out of the freezer, you can thaw out your ground beef in like 10 minutes. And it's way easier to store. So I'm gonna call this shop trim. Boom. It's like flat. There we go. So, what is it? 10 big ass steaks, 2 things of ground beef, taco meat, hamburgers, whatever. And then we'll have like probably like a container like that. For sure fill up this full container, if not one twice as big of beef tallow.